1. I woke up, put my glasses on, went downstairs, and took my dog on our daily morning walk. Nothing different. I live in a cul-de-sac, so all of us are pretty well known, all have pets. As I reached the turn with my dog, a 6-month-old German Shepherd, he started barking at something in the wooded area. I did not think much of it due to having plenty of stray cats around, and know my dog would defend me. I still felt uneasy throughout the walk, and decided to cut it short and head back to my house. I started getting prepared for work when I saw that I would not have to go in at 10, but instead at 1. Yay! So I decided I would play some video games and then go back upstairs for a nap. Me and my dog hopped on the couch. He napped and I played Diablo. I started getting sleepy, so I just pulled back on the couch and put some Family Guy and napped for about 20 minutes with my dog. He jumped off the couch and ran to the window and started barking. He then got what I call the zoomies and started running like crazy around the house. I thought nothing of it and decided to head upstairs for a nap. Now this is where things get weird. I wear prescription glasses, so I have been wearing them since I woke up, or I could definitely tell because I would not be able to see anything. I lay in bed, cuddle up, put my glasses on my headboard and drift off to sleep. I do occasionally have sleep paralysis. This time it was different, though, and I heard what sounded like footsteps coming into my bedroom. First, what is weird about this is my room is carpeted, and I promise you, you would not be able to hear anything unless someone is jumping. It woke me up, but once again I just thought nothing of it because my pup was napping at the foot of the bed. I fell asleep again and heard what I thought was a whisper, then I fell into a great sleep. Had some really vivid dreams to the point I can remember what was being said in the dream. Not sure if this is relevant, just thought it was pretty cool since I am barely able ever to remember my dreams. So anyways, I have to go into work at 1. Set my alarm to go off at noon. It goes off and I get up, wash my face, brush my teeth and start getting ready. Got ready in like 15 minutes, then bam, where are my glasses? I went back to my bedroom to get them off my headboard of my bed. They were not there. Alright, maybe the cat or the dog knocked them off. I checked under my bed, behind it, in the bathroom, in my roommate's bedroom, nothing. Well, now I felt screwed. I spent 15 minutes looking for my glasses and didn't find them, and I needed to drive to work, but I'm blind as a bat. So okay, weird, but whatever, I have to eat and get to work, and don't need to worry about this. I fed my dog and cats and ate some cereal. I went to put on my backpack, which has my work laptop and documents in it. My glasses were sitting on top of it, right next to the front door. How did it get from my bedroom upstairs, downstairs, sitting on top of my backpack? My roommate was not home. She went to visit her family for the week of the 4th of July. So it was only me. At least that is what I thought. Pretty weird. Any ideas on what might have happened? Anyone have an experience like this before? 2. I was in 3rd grade at the time, so it was back in 2008. We moved a ton as a kid, and we happened to be living in a house in Jessup, Georgia at the time. My dad drove semi-truck, so he was gone for several weeks at a time, and my sisters stayed with their other parents, they were half-sisters, every other weekend. On this night it happened to be just me and my mom, as everyone else was gone. It was extremely stormy, as in lightning lighting up the house and thunder shaking the windows. I was obviously scared. I shared a room with my sisters, but I didn't want to be alone, so I crawled into bed with my mom. Our cable was out, so the TV screen was just blue at the time. We didn't have a fancy TV, it was just one of those small box ones. To give some context to the layout of her room, this will become important when my mom tries to debunk what I saw, the bed is on the far wall. The TV in the room is placed on the opposite corner of the door to the bathroom. The bed is right next to the bathroom door. Anyways, I climb into bed with my mom, the TV is blue, and lightning and thunder are still going crazy. She is sleeping on the side of the bed that is next to the bathroom door, and I am on the other side of her, close to the opposite wall. The bathroom door has a full-length mirror running down it. I look up in bed and see something in the mirror. I tell my mom there's something in the mirror, and I ask her what it is. She tells me to ignore it and go to sleep, and that it's a TV reflecting in the mirror. I didn't listen and kept studying what I saw and realized it was a man. He had a full beard and was dressed like a Civil War uniform. It was all a bit hazy, but the image of the man was golden, almost like an outline, if that makes sense. It wasn't like a drawing of the man, but it wasn't solid or colored, just a gold outline. I was too scared of the storm to think about it and hid under the covers and fell asleep. There were no lamps on, and the room was lit up blue from the TV. I tried my best to explain the layout of the room to emphasize it. It could not be the TV reflecting, even though that's what my mom said. My mom also later said that she's never saw anything in the mirror and only saw the actual TV reflection. The house had a lot of activity too. We had a plastic floor mat running down our hallway. My mom would hear footsteps going down it daily while we were at school. She'd hear what sounded like whispers coming down the hallways as well. My sisters have claimed that they've seen one of their porcelain dolls blink, and I used to get angry at my sisters because they'd move my toys around even though they swore they didn't. Not the worst house I've lived in, but it was a creepy one. 3. This happened back in 2009. I was a freshman in high school and had never experienced anything truly paranormal until that one night. I went up to hang out with my best friend at the time and his girlfriend. We all lived within walking distance of each other, just to give you an idea of how close we were. I was almost never home because, quite frankly, I didn't want to be there due to my abusive stepfather. Nothing paranormal about that, though. Our new favorite game that we all liked to play was hide and seek in the dark, or some people may refer to it as manhunt. We had played that there so many times during the day that we all knew the essential hiding locations, and it almost wasn't fun anymore. At night we wouldn't use flashlights or any sort of aid. It made it more challenging and fun. You could use the shadows and dark spots to your advantage. So long as you were concealed, you were pretty much set. My favorite spot to hide was along one side of his house where no light could pass through. I would lay down flat behind a few shrubs, and it was a good spot until they started to catch on to it. It was my time to seek, and everyone was finally hidden. Another fun part we added in was that you could change your hiding spot at any time. And if you were en route, the person who was it would have to tag you. Pretty common rules. This was my first time seeking at night, and I didn't realize how hard this was until then. I checked the dark part of the house first. I went to every spot I could think of, and I couldn't find anyone. I started to get anxious because it was taking longer than I thought it should have. I started to go towards the other side of the house and began to walk down towards their garage. I was trying to be quiet, hoping I could hear some sort of rustle or movement. Then I saw my opportunity. A human-shaped shadow began to move across my friend's house. I got extremely excited and shouted, "Isaac, I've got you!" And as I reached out to grab him, the shadow moved in front of his open garage door, and nothing was there. I opened my fist and began to immediately shake with fear. I called out to my friends, both of which were nowhere near the area, and told them what happened. We were all spooked, to say the least. And then we all stopped again, dead in our tracks. The boy figure was now sitting with his face in his hands on his neighbor's porch, and we all saw it. He then got up and ran around the corner, disappearing from our sights. We all agreed to end it there, and a very bad storm started to roll in. I said goodbye to my friend, and I went with his girlfriend to her house for a sleepover. She always told me her house was haunted, which I believe, mainly because of the nasty vibe I got when I walked into her house. To make it worse, she offered to play with her Ouija board, which I had never heard about before just then. I asked her, "Does it really work?" From which she responded, "Do you want to find out?" So us, being stupid teenagers, decided to use it. This is how every bad horror movie starts with Ouija boards. Again, I was unaware of the risks until after the fact. This board was a glow-in-the-dark version, just one that her mom got her from a local bookstore. We went out into her hallway upstairs, which was very small to begin with. It was just wide enough for a single person to walk through. We sat next to each other with the board in between us. We turned the lights out and it was pitch dark, other than a little sliver of light that was coming from her sister's bedroom. We began asking questions, but the board wasn't moving. I was about to call it quits when I looked over at my friend and noticed something strange down the hall. Her parents' door was shut, and on the door they had a long mirror hanging up. In front of the mirror I saw the same little boy from the hide-and-seek, except now he was rocking back and forth with his head between his legs. I immediately threw my hand up and turned on the light switch and ended the session. When I looked to the floor next to me, there were two very large footprints embedded into the carpet. I never spent the night, and I never wanted to ever again after that. Throughout all of this, I kept hoping that maybe we were just seeing our own shadows, and that our eyes were playing tricks on us in the dark. But I hardly think so. All of us still remember that to this day, and that happened 10 years ago. 4. So this starts when I was 9. I used to live in a villa built for 2 sisters in 1937 that my grandma and grandpa bought in the 60s. The house has been home to quite unusual characters in the past, most notably a doctor who either wasn't sane or whose practice was just overall shady. This will be important later. Basically, I was a curious child and one day was just rummaging through the stuff in our attic. The place basically looks like something out of a horror movie. Unholy amount of dust, cranking wood, all that jazz. Also, the people who were working on it died while building it because it simply fell one day. Anyways, I was looking through stuff when I found this square made out of concrete, I think, with a name and some years written on it. I couldn't really see anything there, so I went downstairs and washed it and showed it to my parents and grandma. I don't remember the conversation we had, but I do remember taking it outside. Fast forward some time later, I was playing with my cousin and needed to get something from downstairs, so I went down the spiral staircase that leads to our garden. It has exactly 22 stairs. When I was coming back up, I was looking mostly down at my feet, until I lifted up my head and saw a man dressed in a very specific shade of khaki green vintage suit that was around 25 years of age, covered in like a blue smoke at the 17th step. So about 5 stairs away from the top. He stared at me straight in the eye for 5 seconds and then disappeared. For some reason I wasn't scared at all and just went on with my day, since he didn't hurt me or anything. I have only started to talk about it in recent years. My parents are divorced, so I moved out of that house when I was 11. When I was 16, I was visiting my grandma there. She had a habit of sunbathing while sitting on the balcony that is right next to the top of the spiral staircase mentioned above. I remembered about my encounter and asked her whether there was someone who used to stay in the same place as her before. She told me, and I quote, "A boy who had problems." I mean, I knew about the boy who lived with his father, the doctor, from my mother, but never have I thought it could be him. It would be a few years until I put 2 and 2 together and realized he committed suicide, and I think, solely based on my gut and intuition really, that he did so by swallowing sleeping pills because his father was terrorizing him so much, so that he became depressed. I also realized that what I found was a gravestone, and I'm pretty sure he's buried somewhere in our yard. And the whole suicide thing happened in my grandma's room because, and I swear to God, that the atmosphere in that room at nightfall is just heavy. Also, to further explain why he is probably in our backyard, I'd like to add that my country is fundamentally Orthodox Christian, and you don't get a proper burial if you commit suicide, so his family probably had to improvise. My eyes literally tear up to this day when I think about it. To make things even more creepy, when I was a baby I would apparently just scream without any reason. Years later we rented the ground floor and the person who lived there put a doll against a window that was literally looking through the glass at everybody who entered the premises. No explanation. Just did it like it was a totally normal thing to do. The room in which the doll was in is the same room that my crib was in when I was a baby. So, needless to say, I am pretty sure that Mr. Stairs is not alone. Anyone had similar experiences as a child. 5. When I first moved into my apartment, I knew there was something off about the place. I was from out of town, looking for a new career, and my boyfriend and I needed a place to move into, so I paid the down payment without taking a tour of my soon-to-be apartment. I lived in a small town in Texas and didn't have paid time off to take a trip 6 hours into the city. I made the agreement based on the floor layout, pictures online, and the fact that my sister lived in the same complex, different building, and I had visited her before, so I had an idea of what I was getting myself into. The apartment was smack dab in the middle of the city, so it was ideal to all the places I'd be looking for a new job. I paid the security deposit in mid-January of 2018, and I would not be moving in until May 25th, 2018. I was told there was a vacancy and that the apartment would be held for me. I went on about my life. Months later, my boyfriend and I moved into the city with everything we owned packed in a trailer. His mother and stepfather helped us with the move, driving the trailer that hauled our belongings across the state. The trailer would be needed once we got into the city because his parents had been generous enough to buy us a furniture set from a shop downtown, and the trailer would be used to pick up the furniture and haul it to our new apartment. When we got to the apartment complex, we went to the front office and one of the assistants got us our lease and paperwork ready for us to sign. While we were going over the fine print, she left the room to make a call. When she got back, she took our forms and filed them away, gave us copies, and started chatting about the complex and our lives, this and that. It started to feel like she was stalling. We asked her what was taking so long, why we weren't being given our keys. She stated it was due to maintenance needing to fix a few things in our apartment. A door needed replacing, is what she told us. She asked if we would be willing to wait until 12 or 1 p.m. over 2 hours. We told her that wouldn't work because we needed to unload all our belongings so we could take the trailer into the city and pick up the furniture that was waiting for us. She made another call and told us we would have to wait at least 30 minutes for them to finish cleaning the apartment up. We agreed, but my boyfriend's parents were upset and wanted to get us settled in so they could hit the road, as they'd been traveling all week. The assistant, I'll call her Day, took us on a tour of the apartment complex. It was very hot outside as Day showed us around, telling us where we could park, showing us the gym and swimming pool areas. Finally, Day took us to our apartment, which was the last building on the lot, and she gave us a key, informing us we would need to pick up a second key at the front office once it had been made. We were a little annoyed at the fact that a key hadn't already been made. We were also annoyed that the maintenance was working on a door in our apartment when they'd had 4 months to take care of that, considering we'd signed the deposit forms in January, and it was nearing June. We stuck the key into the lock of our new apartment, but it was already unlocked. When the door opened, a woman was standing in the hall finishing up painting the wooden door frame of our soon-to-be bedroom door. We were startled to see her there. She was kind, smiled, and warned us of the wet door frame. When she left, she took a broom and scraps of wood with her. The apartment smelled strange. That's the first thing we noticed. My boyfriend kept saying it as we carried box after box into the apartment. I told him the smell might go away after the paint dried. We left the wood door open to air the place out, and I noticed the floor seemed dusty, even though the woman told us she mopped it the day before. The floor did not look very clean. Our cat was tired of being in her cage, so we decided to let her out in the empty bedroom. We shut the door so she wouldn't get out of the apartment. As soon as the door closed, she started panicking. She meowed and cried and pawed at the door for us to let her out. But we kept trying to calm her by sliding her treats under the door. She was not happy to be locked in the room. She seemed scared and skittish. But we didn't want her getting stepped on or running outside, as she is an inside cat. Finally, we got everything moved into the apartment. My boyfriend and I started organizing boxes per room, waiting for his parents to get back with the new furniture. Soon we began putting the furniture together and unpacking, trying to get the apartment as homey as we could. But the smell lingered there. It was tangy and wet, the smell of something that had died. We thought maybe something had died in the vents. But eventually, the more we aired out the apartment, the more the smell faded. His parents got us as settled in as they could, and my boyfriend got ready for a job interview he had that evening. Soon after, he found a job, but I struggled to find something. I was offered a position, but would have to wait it out for the summer to start in August. During that time, I was home all day, every day, and I started to get the feeling I was not alone. I felt the presence most in the kitchen. But I felt it all over. I felt like I was intruding in someone else's room when I walked into my own bedroom. I felt like I was being watched while I cooked in the kitchen, or watched from the windowed kitchen while I was in the living room. Or while I'd be in the bedroom, I'd hear noises in the kitchen. I'd go into the kitchen and shuffling could be heard in the bedroom. I got a feeling in my gut someone had died in the apartment. things started going missing or being misplaced. I told my boyfriend of the feelings I was having, and he started telling me he felt that way as well. During the first few weeks we had been receiving a lot of mail, most of it not being ours. I returned it to the sender. The same name. Ken B. kept appearing, and I wondered why the man who lived in the apartment before us had not changed his mailing address, until the day the green envelope arrived. I am not one to break the law. I would never open someone else's mail, but the green envelope had already been opened. When I pulled the envelope from the mailbox, a silver charm that fell out of the envelope clicked across the concrete. A dragonfly pendant laid on the ground. I was confused how it had just fallen out of the envelope until I realized it must have been too thick for the envelope. Had been inspected, as UPS had strict rules about placing bulky or non-paper items inside of flat envelopes. The green envelope had been inspected and was wide open. It was addressed to the family of Ken B. My heart started racing. I didn't pull the card out. Instead, when I slipped the charm in, I peeked at the inside of the card and saw the confirmation I needed. We are deeply saddened by the passing of your loved one, Ken B. I froze, clutched the letter to my chest, and turned back towards the apartment complex. I was afraid to go back inside. After having my gut feeling confirmed, I immediately ran to my laptop and looked up Ken's name, and his obituary popped up on my first search. Heart attack. His face stared back at me from the screen, and I looked at the date of death and wanted to vomit. He had died in March, 2 months before we moved in. I remembered the woman painting our new door frame. Maintenance had to fix our bedroom door, perhaps because Ken had been locked on the other side of it, dead, in the room I now sleep in. I told my boyfriend, and we both freaked out together. But he asked me not to show him the picture of Ken, so I didn't. I sealed the green envelope, wrote return to sender, and put it in the mailbox. It stayed there for weeks. The mailman wasn't taking it for some reason, so each time I opened the mailbox it was there, staring at me, waiting to be given to the mourning family. One day I decided I would take the green envelope to the post office and return it myself. But when I opened the mailbox, it was gone. Time passed. I had started my new job and was happy not to be cooped up in the apartment all day. Our friend Lisa came to stay with us over the weekend. She stayed at home while we went to work that Friday, and when I got back to the apartment, she told me she swore someone had to have died in the apartment. She told me she kept getting the feeling she was being watched from the kitchen, or that when she went to the bathroom, a presence lingered in the bedroom as she passed it. I told her I had those feelings too. I told her about the green envelope, about Ken, about maintenance working on the apartment just minutes before we moved in. The smell when we first opened the door, the noises, and my research on his death. She was thoroughly freaked out, and still feels that way when she comes to visit. I have lived in the apartment for a little over a year now, and I have had many experiences here. I still feel Ken when I come home from a long day of work, as if his presence is in the back bedroom, resting, or in the kitchen causing a scene. My cats, we got another one, see him all the time, whether he be standing beside me or walking across the hall. One of my cats, the new one, will get on top of the fridge and stare at the corner of the kitchen for long periods of time, at something that is not visible to me. My boyfriend and I wanted to move when our 12-month lease was up, but the timing and our finances weren't right. So we signed another 12-month lease, and we will have to suck it up and deal with Ken's spirit for a bit longer. I do wish, though, that I hadn't seen his face, because now if I do see something walking down the hall or out of the corner of my eye again, I'll know exactly who it is. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, episode 147. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Gonna keep the outro kinda short here because I have zero energy at the moment. We hear you, shut up. That kind of annoying weather where it's not really nice and bright and sunny, but it's awfully clammy, so you just feel all kind of lethargic all the time. I'll get done with these videos and I'm going to crush some ice in the blender, and I'll mix it with some orange juice. There's probably a proper name for it, but it's very nice and yummy, so I'll do that. Pop it in a mason jar with a straw. I did get some fancy straws the other day, but I haven't used any of them yet. Some of them are funny colours. Oh good, it sounds like the neighbourhood kids are starting to screech now. Lovely. It's currently 7:15 in the evening. I would like to be done before midnight, would be lovely, so y'all can hush up. You've got all summer to make noise. Well, I think so. The schools, the schools only went on holiday. Was it last week, the week before? They've got to middle of August. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.